Hey, Mr. Oakley, I wanted to talk to you guys about our song that just dropped, "Finding Home." It's been
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of a different venture for us in several ways, and I wanted to ask you some questions. You kind of had a different take on what was kind of the message of the song, and it was kind of interesting because that was like not what I had intended at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's cool how music is very open-ended, especially lyric-wise, if somebody doesn't know exactly what the song's about. What did you think about it the first time you heard it?
I
Right.
liked it. Like I remember we just had a chorus at the time. We
Yeah.
weren't sure what to call it. The entrance was kind of different. I started messing around with like guitar stuff, and I liked the lyrical content that was there. I remember the super hissy vocal that he sent in the first one. It was like in
Hey,
between
that's just
the
because I was using my
words.
wireless mic.
But yeah, no, I just remember
I like freedom.
liking it, and I was kind of surprised that it's a little bit different than something we usually do. Although it's very similar, it's just like I don't know. It was weird. I liked it. I was kind of surprised by it.
I was
When I
I
first,
was kind of not surprised, but I remember you didn't want to scream on this song.
yeah, because I like screaming in the right context, but I also feel like a lot of people put screaming in songs where it kind of takes away from it. I think like 2010, 2005. The thing that kept me away from like rock and metal was the screaming because there was a lot of songs where like I felt like they would just scream because it was the genre. And
Yeah.
that's what I didn't like. Not that I didn't like screaming in itself, but I just felt like it didn't serve the song 100%. And it was more like the emo days of music, and I was like, oh, what is this? And it was always a nasty like a weird like crying sound.
Yeah. Like just
Yeah, so I felt like if we screamed in this song, it might have the same effect.
I also had like a different vision, I think, at the beginning. I wanted it to have kind of like a I actually came up with a song one day because I was messing around making some kind of like EDM, um, like tropical sounding build up or something, and I was like, "Whoa, this would be sick for like intro, just to like have something different and have something more pop oriented." But it was kind of a just different overall, especially when we kind of debuted the song on our Facebook page. We actually recorded some like live drums, like
Yep.
live performance, like actual just performing in the room stuff. We got you playing some drums. We actually don't do that often, but yeah, I like what you did with the drums.
That was I didn't even think of that, but that was the first one that we did. Like the drums were written with like live drums and then put in.
Yeah, because normally it's just me like tinkering in a room on the like on Logic or whatever, and then I come up with an idea and I'm like, "Hey Steven, what do you think about this?" And he's like, "Well, change these drum parts." But this one I was like, "Hey Steven, just play something here," because I had something like kind of completely different, and then he threw in this tom part. The what song you think? What does it sound like?
Move Along Bell by
Yeah,
the All American Rejects.
we just copied
Yeah,
it
my
from
boys.
yeah, so it's pretty cool. We don't often record live drums, so getting him actually playing the drums live for the performance on Facebook was pretty fun. It actually sounded a lot better than I thought it was gonna sound. It's kind of funny because while I think the song is a cool, like I like the song, we tried a different approach. We were going for like a raw sound, kind of something underproduced, just kind of straightforward. What did you think about that, Oak, when you like heard it or
I liked it because it was like underproduced and raw in a way that I appreciate more than what most people deem as raw. A lot of times people throw that word around meaning bad performance,
Mhm.
which I don't like. Not trying to be mean, but like a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a raw sound," but like Journey is raw. They didn't edit that
Mhm.
stuff, and it still sounds great. U2's raw, and U2 is the greatest band of all time. Just gonna give them a plug.
They might sponsor you. They're gonna fund your meals for the next 6 months.
Hey, I would love it if U2 funded my meals. Yeah, as long as
Me,
I could eat
us
with
too. We'll do it. We'll give you some
them.
ramen.
Anyway, but yeah, it was like a raw sound, but um like we still did a whole lot of reverb and like delay and made like a very
Yeah.
ambient guitar sound, but it was like actual performance guitars and whatnot, and used like slide, but in a way that people wouldn't usually think of it. Um, so I think it's still raw, as in like because we know it's raw because of like the way it was performed and when we played it and whatnot. But to people who hear it, it's not like what you would think of as a raw sound because it's very clean and well played. So
Yeah.
I was on board with that because that's like the live version we did for YouTube doesn't. I mean, for Facebook doesn't sound like super different as far as like live music always sounds very different because the guitars are a lot louder and all this stuff. But like when we pulled it off, like it sounded pretty close.
Yeah. So like I thought it sounded cool, and we always talked about like just like how the live feed from like Warped Tour or whatever used to sound. Dude, some of those sounded really bad, like really bad. Yeah, some of those bands were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, not like trying to trash them, but like, man, some of those, it was rough. But it's crazy because the response we got wasn't exactly good.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily bad. It was just different. Like, I guess, I don't know, like you were saying this like last time we were talking, how it's like people weren't able to see the finished product and what they heard, so they thought that was like the version of the song, and they were like,
yeah,
oh, it sounds like 90s, whatever. It's like, that's because
people
it's
said
live.
it sounds like not like a 90s rock band, and I was like, I can kind of see that actually.
Like the opposite of what we usually go for.
Yeah, which is the opposite of what we sound like.
Mhm.
I think. I mean, we're still rock, but I mean, we have, I think, influences. But yeah, like some people are straight hating on it, like saying like, yeah, you can't make it with that kind of 90s sound and like all this stuff. And I was just like, what? It's not 90s at all. Like they obviously didn't listen to our other music, but it's interesting because in a way that they were just saying like, you know, trolls being trolls, but
Mm-hmm.
the 90s sound, it kind of was that very
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting a phone call.
bring him in.
No, it's not gonna add on here.
Oh.
You were saying something about 90s sound?
Yeah, like the 90s sound was very raw. Like the vocalists in the 90s, they were kind of the opposite of the 80s. Like the 80s were like super good, you know, like classically powerhouse, classically trained, you know, that kind of stuff. But then the 90s was like the grunge era where people just went like all the time. I mean, yeah, at some point, like the raw guitar, raw drums, raw, just like loose kind of like mix. I think I did a good job on the mix for what it was. Like, I think it sounded cool and like big, but it did sound raw. And especially like my vocals, I usually like have layers and stuff. And like we did have harmonies, but it's definitely not kind of the stuff people are used to hearing now.
Yeah, and also the parts were different on that one than they are in the recording, just because like playing it live, sometimes you have to sacrifice certain things. Like because I was playing like the lead and singing harmony, I couldn't really do the exact same lead and that exact same harmony because I guess like my hands and mouth don't know how to do the same thing at once or something. But like, so we made it a little bit simpler on some parts and actually took out a couple vocal parts. But like, I think that's cool because that's what we do anyway for like our live shows. We like I guess like
we trade off and
compensate.
Stuff.
Yeah, we make things like a little bit different, so it like all fits in together and it's a little bit easier to play because it's about performing then more than like playing everything exactly.
Yeah, it's about the experience and the energy. Yeah, so this was definitely an interesting experiment. I like experimenting with like the stuff we come out with and like just the overall approach because you never know what's going to work, and especially like in this era, like who knows what's going to work and what's going to happen, or the musical landscape is completely different than it was even a year ago. And so yeah, cool. What else do you have planned for tonight, Mr. Oakley?
I don't know. I'm supposed to go get some. I think we're getting like snacks, but like healthy snacks because I'm not eating flour anymore.
Classic.
Probably some hummus and like I don't know, carrots or something like that.
All right, Mr. Oakley.
Trying as best as you can.
Enjoy your snacks, and we'll catch up with you later.
All right, sounds good. See you guys.
Peace, bro.
Peace.